Yo, what's up, Broncos country? How's it going tonight, guys? I wanted to get on here and make this quick video and talk about some of the stories and articles that I've been seeing over the last couple of days, and kind of get into them. It ain't gonna be a real long video here tonight, because I got my weekly video on Sunday, which we'll be going over the NFC, uh, records and predictions for that. So anyway, the news I wanted to get into, a lot of the articles I've been seeing over the last couple of days, and this tells me this is really the off season. I mean, we got 2 weeks, 14 days until training camp starts, which I will be at the first day of training camp, July 26th, which is a Friday. And I'm excited. Gonna be a lot of news coming out of that. But let's talk about some of the stuff I've been seeing. Now, yes, we all understand, we all know that, the whole Cortland Sutton thing, coming out with, he hold out for training camp because he held out for, all the voluntary stuff earlier this offseason. And, because he's wanting somewhat of a new contract. He's wanting more money. We all know that. Now, rumors are starting to surface again about him holding out of training camp, which I don't believe is going to happen. Because if he holds out of training camp, he's going to lose more money than, he's just going to lose more money. I doubt he's going to want to do that. Cortland Sutton's going to play this year, and I'm not saying this because the Broncos have him over a barrel. The Broncos do need to give him that 2-3 million. I understand they're strapped for cash this year. That's completely understandable. But to help develop your young quarterback you guys got coming in, Cortland Sutton is a number one. You need to keep him around. He needs to be here. Like I hate to see him go, but they want to get rid of him at the end of the season, let him walk because they're not going to give him enough money. They want to trade him, whatever it is. That's fine. But at least keep him around for half the season to give Bo Nix that number one guy, give him the experience, help Bo Nix out, help him develop a little bit. Give him the 2 or 3 million. Restructure some contracts somehow and get that 2 or 3 million to Cortland Sutton and move on from this mess. And like I said, if you want to trade midseason, that's fine. But like I said, there's a rumor out there that he's going to hold out of training camp, which is not going to happen because if he does, he's going to lose more money, and I doubt he's going to want that. The next thing is, which this one makes me laugh personally, and I'm not sitting here saying Bo Nix is going to be the next Tom Brady. I'm not saying that, but a couple of things on Bo Nix actually. One, you know, the national media, they're going AWOL, like with this whole Bo Nix thing, like, oh, he is he gonna be, a bust? Pretty much saying he's gonna be garbage, or he's not gonna be very good. The Broncos reached for him at 12, which is just pathetic to say the least. If anything, like after Caleb Williams went number one, and then Michael Penix went number two, or Michael Penix went eighth, but they were talking about him being the second pick of the draft, maybe the first. Honestly, I think Bo Nix is probably the third best quarterback in this draft class this year because he has the most experience. Like people want to dog on him for that, but it's like 61 starts. He's the most pro-ready NFL quarterback, or coming out of college. He played in a really good system. The guy, he can throw over the middle. He can do timing routes. He you know, everything like that. Like, honestly, Bo Nix, I'd say, I know it's going to take a lot longer than a year, but by the end of all these rookies' first year, we're going to be sitting here saying Bo Nix is probably one of the top three out of this class, behind maybe even top two. But Caleb Williams is probably going to be the best. Maybe, Michael Penix, we ain't going to know. But yeah, unless, Kirk Cousins ain't ready, but still, it's just wild to me that they think the Broncos reached. They did not reach for Bo Nix. If anything, like this is the funny thing, because you know what? I guarantee if the Rams would have picked him, granted the Rams probably wouldn't have started him right away because there were talks about the Rams taking him. If the Rams would have took him at, if they would have moved up to 12 with the Broncos or, wherever, and they took Bo Nix, they'd be like, oh, that's not a reach. Even though the kid's going to probably sit for a couple years until Matthew Stafford retires, if the Rams would have took him. But no, the Broncos reach for him, which is just, stupid in the least, I can say. The next thing is that you know, there was a video that came out on the Mile High Huddle page earlier today. I was watching, or maybe it was yesterday, that Sean Payton, I mean, this has been said in the past, and a lot of people take this, what Sean Payton said out of context, and it kind of irritates me because it just proves people don't listen, they don't read, and it's just aggravating, honestly. That he was pretty much saying all the stuff people are saying about Bo Nix, not everybody, but some people talking about Bo Nix, you hear comments like, oh, he did this, he did that, what's up, Big E? Thanks for joining us tonight, man. Um, but just saying, certain things about him, like how he is ready, or maybe he's not that good at this. Sean Payton pointed out that the national media were saying the same thing about Patrick Mahomes. Now, this is where it gets twisted, is that these people think that Sean Payton he's comparing Bo Nix now to, Patrick Mahomes as of now. That's not what he was doing by any stretch of the imagination. And people that are saying that are just, I don't want to use the word, but they're stupid. Like, that's not what he was saying. What he was saying is that all the comments people were saying about Patrick Mahomes whenever he came out in the draft, those are the same comments people are, saying about Bo Nix right now. That's all he was saying. He's not comparing them, together right now. Like, oh, Bo Nix is he's Patrick Mahomes right now. He wasn't saying that. He was just saying the comments people were saying at the time about Patrick Mahomes are the same comments they're using for Bo Nix now. And a lot of people got that twisted. A lot of people got up in arms about it, saying, oh my God, how could Sean Payton say Bo Nix is Patrick Mahomes? He never said that. And it's just stupid to me. Like, these people literally just don't listen or they don't read. And it's aggravating. So I wanted to touch on that. And it's just honestly, man, I don't know anymore. But now the biggest thing, the one reason why I really wanted to make this video. Now, I did my predictions a couple of weeks ago, you know, and as most of you know, I posted in all the Bronco pages I could on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure I did a video on here that the way that I got the record set, I went through every week, I picked the teams that would win, and at the end of the year, I showed the divisions of which seed or who's going to be at what seeds, who's going to be in the playoffs, and I had the Broncos at 10-7 with the way the schedule went, the way the wins and losses went from this season. The Broncos were at the 6th seed. Now, a lot of people were just like, "Are you crazy? The Broncos ain't making the playoffs." Now, I have said, and I'm not going to try to get this twisted. I do think this is an evaluation year, but just because I say that does not mean the Broncos can't make the playoffs. Like the Texans last year, I know people want to say, "Oh, that was just, that was a fluke, whatever." Dude, stuff like that happens all the time. People think that teams ain't going to be good and they wind up being okay and they're able to sneak into the playoffs. The AFC is going to be a bitter, conference. Anything's possible in the NFL. Everybody should know that by now. So I have the Broncos sitting at 10-7 and being the 6th seed in the AFC and making the playoffs this year. And a lot of people are saying, the national media is talking about us being the worst team in the NFL. And I know I did a video on this about the roster rankings a few weeks back, but it's like this national media, they're like bipolar. They don't know what to say or what to think, or every day their mind changes about what they think. Which whatever, fine, but it's like, you had the Broncos rank their roster at 31st, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, the only team they had them ranked better as was the Giants. They're better than the Patriots, they're better than the Giants, they're better than the Cardinals, they're better. I'm trying to think of some other teams. I can honestly say probably the Seahawks possibly, the Titans were better than the Colts. I mean, there's a lot of teams where our roster is better. And I have them like I'm not saying that the Broncos are like, top 20, top 15, top 10 rosters, or even just the top, whatever. I got them ranked at about 24th, which is what I think they should be at. Because they do have some good talent on this roster. You know, Baron Browning and Nick Benito both each had 8 sacks last year. I think even Jonathan Cooper had like 8.5 sacks last year, which is pretty good. You got the best corner in the game, Sertan, in the secondary. You got Cortland Sutton, who was like top 3 last year in receivers. Maybe not yards, but like touchdowns, he was top 3. You have what PFF ranked last year, the 7th best offensive line in the NFL. Like, and the running back room is no slouch. Like, how do we have one of the worst? Like, how can they rate us one of the worst rosters in the NFL? It makes no freaking logical sense. They go back and forth every freaking week on this, and it drives Broncos country insane. It really does. Biggie, I think 9-8 or 8-9. Um, I think 9-8 is the floor for this team, honestly, Biggie. I really do. I think 9-8 is a floor. I think the ceiling could be 11-6. But that's why I followed the 10-7 because honestly, I said this the other day. I posted this up the other day. This roster with the coaching is the exact same. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, we lost Jewel. We lost Justin Simmons. We lost Lloyd Cushenberry. We lost Jerry Judy. But here, I'm going to break this down for you guys. Simmons is like this is more of an emotional connection for me because Simmons is a Bronco in my eyes. No matter where he goes, wherever his career takes him, whatever he does from here out, yes, he is a Bronco for life, in my opinion. But that's different. The emotional connection to Justin Simmons is different than what the market and the NFL are saying right now. Safety is not a top priority in the NFL. It isn't. Safeties ain't getting paid like they used to. Justin Simmons is still unsigned. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the news today, but Jamal Adams signed, I think, for like a year with the Titans. Like, safety's not a big need. So I can't really say that was too great of a loss because the NFL is telling you safety is not that big of a deal. To me, I think the things you have to have in the NFL now to be successful is quarterback. That's the main one, of course. Offensive line to keep your quarterback upright. At least one solid receiver, or at least a solid number one receiver, and the pass rush. You got those things, your team's going to be good. Um, you lost Josie Jewell and you brought in Mike Burton, which I don't think that's too much of a drop off, honestly. I think Singleton played better last year than Jewell, but you're not really losing too much there. Um, Jerry Judy, really, is anybody really devastated about losing Jerry Judy? The guy couldn't catch nothing. He couldn't catch. He was a great decoy, don't get me wrong. He was great. But the guy could be wide open whenever Russ would throw to him, and he'd drop freaking 90% of his passes. So, if anything, we gained at the wide receiver position. You got still Marvin Mims, you got Cortland Sutton, you brought in Josh Reynolds, you drafted freaking Troy Franklin, who was, Bo Nix's top target in Oregon. And so you didn't really lose anything. The biggest loss, I honestly say, this offseason for the Broncos, and I'm not even going to count Russell Wilson because he's trash, was Lloyd Cushenberry. Like I was saying, even before Lloyd Cushenberry left, after like right whenever the season ended, I was like, dude, they got to do everything they can to keep this offensive line together because they're going to get a young quarterback. Because we all knew at that time Russell Wilson was going to be gone, and we knew they were going to draft a quarterback. I was like, they need to keep the offensive line. That was the only big loss. Other than that, this is basically the same roster as last year. And the fact that Sean Payton has got his guy, a guy that actually fits his system, like a guy that can run his system, can throw over the middle, is not going to roll out after seeing his first read not there, and he's just going to bail out of the pocket. He's not going to fumble. He's going to take care of the ball, and all that wrapped up, Bo Nix with Sean Payton to me is worth 2 more wins from last year. So we went 8-9 last year. I think with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, that's an additional 2 wins right there. So 10-7 is that's why I got him at 10-7. Now that can be a whole different story. Like I believe they're going to go 10-7, but whenever I say it's going to be a different story, maybe that's not good enough to get them in the playoffs. Like I said, the AFC is a gauntlet. It's just the way I did the scheduling for every other team in the NFL. That's the way it played out. But it could be different. One of the teams I had, ranked, lower the Broncos, maybe they do win more games than the Broncos and they sneak into the playoffs and eliminate the Broncos. Broncos could still get a 10-7 record and not make the playoffs. Which a 10-7 record, that's success, especially if Bo Nix starts all year, which I think is going to have to happen for us to get a 10-7 record. Bo Nix is going to have to start the entire year. But if you go 10-7 with Bo Nix and you still miss the playoffs, that shows promise for the future. Because you're like, okay, we're 10-7. We're above 500 for the first time since 2016. We got a winning record. We were, maybe a game behind or whatever for making the playoffs. So that's why I think the Broncos are going to go 10-7. Like I think the other day, whenever I looked at the over unders for win totals for each team, the Broncos were at 5.5. So you're telling me with the Broncos having basically the same roster, same coaching in place with Sean Payton, getting rid of the quarterback, that was the biggest problem on this team, in my opinion, last year. Because honestly, Russell Wilson lost us at minimum 2 games last year. I'd say the Patriots game and the Jets game, he lost. Like if Russell Wilson just hangs on to the ball and doesn't make freaking mistakes, and doesn't, and actually plays well, guess what? The Broncos probably go 10-7 last year with Russell Wilson, a guy that does not fit Sean Payton's system. And we've heard it all this offseason, guys. We heard that, him and Sean Payton didn't like Russ. They tried to bench him. They had to dumb down the playbook to only like 6 plays because Russell Wilson couldn't run the full offense or even a half of it. Like, we heard it all now. You can believe that with what you will. I do, because Russ literally can't run a productive offense. You literally have to do what you did, the Seahawks did with him whenever he was younger. Play defense, run the ball whenever you need Russ to make a spectacular play downfield, which nowadays that's not going to happen because his athleticism's dipped. He's older. He can't outrun the defensive lineman anymore, which is why the Broncos got rid of him. Because even like I said, he bailed out. He would go to his first read, wasn't there, he would bail out. And you've seen it all last year and the year before, guys. Like he couldn't even outrun a defensive lineman because he's getting older. He's not as fast and twitchy as he used to be. So I just, but with that said, Peyton couldn't run his offense to the full, potential that, it's supposed to be. Bo Nix with Russell Wilson, but Bo Nix can do that. Bo Nix is going to sit in the pocket. He's going to read the defense. He's going to read the field. He's going to go through his progressions. He's going to sit in the pocket and he can deliver the ball over the field. I'm sorry, but to me, that's worth 2 more wins than last year. We're basically the same team. Like, yes, center is a big question mark right now, and I understand that. But the way I think of it is I think the center position will be okay. I believe that. And honestly, I hope Forsyth wins it because if you can get that, if Forsyth can just, get better, he can, progress and just get a little bit better and develop just a little bit more to be a solid, okay center. He's already got the chemistry with Bo Nix. That's going to help out tremendously. So I'm hoping for Forsyth to win that center position because that chemistry with Bo Nix, if he could just be a solid person at center, we're good. So by the end of the season, the wristband wouldn't even work. They had to, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They had to dumb it down to 2 words, Biggie. That's what I'm saying. They had to dumb it down. I'm sorry, but when you have a quarterback that can't even run 50% of the plays in your offensive playbook, looks at his first read, and if it's not there, he bails, and then he's fumbled. Like I said, Russell Wilson lost us 2 games last year. That's 2 games where we could have won if Russ would have just played smartly and not bailed out early. We could have been 10-7 last year and possibly made the playoffs. But no, like I said, the Patriots game for that one for sure to me, Russ lost on this. He lost. And honestly, I can even say the Texans game. Like he literally threw into double coverage on that game-ending interception. And then the Jets game. He literally looked at his first read, rolls out, try to get away. Once again, like I said, he can't outrun a defensive lineman to save his life because he's old now. And instead of having the ball up here, safe, he's got it down here where the defensive guy just comes in, strips it out. And that wasn't the first time it happened. But the Jets game, that was the most egregious because that cost us the game. There were games earlier in the year where, yeah, he got stripped from behind, but it was still early enough in the game. We could have came back. He's sitting there running, got the ball out here. It's like, Russ, what are you doing? If you're going to take off with the ball, tuck it. Don't sit here and have it down here, down by your leg, holding it out like this, because all the defensive guy gotta do is come up and be like, "What?" And that ball is out. There was multiple plays last year where Russ lost the freaking ball because he refused to tuck it. Bo Nix, if he runs with the ball, dang well that's gonna be coached into him hard. Because Peyton was driving him crazy last year. Just tuck the ball. I mean, I guarantee he said that to Russ at least half a dozen times. He's like, Russ, tuck the ball if you're going to run. Tuck it, tuck it, tuck it. And I guarantee he's going to drill that into Bo Nix. And Bo Nix probably really doesn't need it Because Bo Nix is smart enough to know, like, hey, if I'm going to take off running with the ball, tuck it in so that way it doesn't get stripped. So, but with me, yeah, Russell Wilson, he's garbage. He's trash. And that's going to be so funny. Like, honestly, Biggie, I do think the North AFC North is going to be a gauntlet, but the gauntlet's going to be the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bengals. The freaking Steelers are going to be sorry. Like, I honestly believe, like, I'm not saying the defense ain't going to be great because it will be, but this is going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season in his career. I'll put money on it. Because if they don't start out hot, in every freaking prediction video I've seen so far, have those, like, I mean, most of them are for, predictions week one. A lot of people got the freaking Steelers losing to the Falcons. Their first two games of the season, their first game is in Atlanta against the Falcons. People got the freaking Falcons beating the Steelers. And their second game, of course, is us here in Denver. And I'm sorry, but the Broncos are going to beat the Steelers. Like, Sean Payton and Vance Joseph know exactly what to do. If Russell Wilson is like, now, if it's Justin Fields, I can say they might have a shot because Justin Fields outplayed, like, if you guys remember when we played the Bears last year, for 3 quarters, Justin Fields lit up our defense. Now, that was earlier in the year when the defense was still trying to come together. That was before the Miami, or no, that was after the Miami thing. But, I don't see it. Like, Justin Fields, he would have to start for the, Steelers to have any chance to beat the Broncos week 2. If it's Russ, I penciled that in as a big dub for us. Because one, because if Russ is starting, he's probably going to throw not really throw the game, but he's going to give up the game. That's just what he does now. He's going to look at the first read. It's going to be deep in the fourth quarter. They're going to be down by like maybe a couple of points or maybe a touchdown or something. And Russ is going to look at his first read, not be there, and like Zach Allen or Baron Bryan is going to come up behind him and be like, "What? Slap that ball out," and it's going to be over. And then yeah, I agree with you. Like, 3 rookie offensive linemen. You don't think it's like week 2, they're not going to be, you know, probably gelling very well. It's probably going to take them a couple of weeks, like 3, 4 weeks for that offensive line to gel together and understand what Russ does well. And if you guys watched any Bronco games, which I'm sure you guys did, like the offensive linemen, man, they would create a perfect pocket around Russ. And all he had to do was step up and just throw the ball, you know, and he'd be fine, even with a clean pocket. Like, that's how we lost the Patriots game. And why most of the players, if you watch, there's a video out there. Russ literally has a clean pocket, steps back, starts bailing after he reads his first read, runs himself into a sack. Offensive linemen get up, just look at him, walk away from him. They're like, "We're done. We did what we were supposed to do." So, yeah, the Steelers are going to get. And if the Steelers, go 0-2 their first 2 games, they lose to the Falcons, they lose to the Broncos, I don't know what their schedule is after that for like the next 8 weeks, but the last 8 weeks of the season, I think from like week 10 and on, they got the Ravens twice. They got the uh Bengals twice. They got the I'm sorry, last 9 games. I'm pretty sure they got the Ravens twice, the Bengals twice, the Browns twice. They got the Eagles and the Chiefs in that span. The Steelers are if they keep Russ and they run with him all year, they're gonna have to start fast and hot. They're gonna have to win. Probably, I'd say out of their first 8, 9 games, they're gonna have to win like 7 of them, 8 of them, if not all of them. Because that last part of their schedule, like they'll be lucky to win 1 game. They might squeeze one out, but they're gonna have to start hot. Like, I honestly believe, and I did my predictions. I got the Steelers going 8-9 this year because they're not going to start out hot, in my opinion, especially if Russ is playing. They're going to lose their first 2 games to the Falcons and the Broncos. After that, they're probably going to bench Russ and they're going to, bring in Justin Fields and hopefully try to, revive their season. But for those last 8 games, they're done. So, but it's just wild to me that, you know, people don't think this could be a 10-win team. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. But I do know for a fact that the Broncos are going to win more than 5 games this year. I honestly believe their floor is 9-8. I think the Broncos had their first winning season in like 8 years. That will happen this year. Whether if it's 8-9, 10-7, 11-6, whatever it is, the Broncos are going to have their first winning season this year, and they're going to show development, they're going to show progression, and they're going to show fight. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Big E, thank you for joining us tonight. And I will be back on Sunday night. Um, on Colorado Sports Connection. We'll be breaking down the NFC, predictions and records for each team. And then the following Sunday, we will be doing the AFC. So please jump over there on Sunday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and watch that. But please like, comment, subscribe on this video, guys, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.